city of Union City, a cosmopolitan city where almost all of us have seen each other. We are like a large family that through the management of our representatives, they help our citizens. And our people do volunteer work because they know that the city is run by a mayor who has shown that he is not the common politician, but that he works for his community. This program is an extension of information where we are going to have participation of personalities from the public and private sectors so that they can keep us informed of the community. May that be educational activities and everything that benefits us.
Good evening, Union City, the Dream City. Tonight, we will be talking about architect job responsibilities, researches, programs, plans, designs, and administers buildings projects for clients, applying knowledge of architectural design, construction detailings, construction procedures, zoning and building codes, and a lot more. But tonight we have a very special guest, Mr. Pereiras, great architect of Hudson County, Union City, New Jersey. Good evening.
It's a pleasure to be here, Candy.
The pleasure is mine. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'd be happy to do so. I think critically important here is that I'm born and raised in Union City. So I grew up on 12th Street.
Very important one.
It's hugely important because I consider myself a product of Union City. And that's one of the important aspects of what I do because Union City in many ways created me, and now it's my opportunity to create Union City and give back. So
you said it right. Very good. Can you tell the Union City audience, the Dream City, about your credentials as an architect?
Sure, absolutely. And I'll give you all my credentials. I went to St. Francis
Academy.
Yeah. St. Francis Academy on 17th and Central. My family had a hardware store on 12th and Summit, and I credit that a lot to who I've become as an architect because for several things. Number one, I really understood the nuts and bolts, quite literally, of construction. Working there, figuring out how things are built, that kind of initiated my love of architecture. And also because I get to work with the public and working face to face with the clientele and what later became what is Union City really gave me a huge lesson of who I was. And when I decided I wanted to become an architect, and this was at an early age. At 16 I knew I wanted to be an architect, so I looked for an internship in an architecture firm.
Wow.
And I was able to find that in Union City. I went to work for Frank Fernandez. His offices were in Troy Towers. And he was an amazing architect. Did church buildings. So we did a lot of institutional work and really beautiful large buildings. And he was patient with me as a 16-year-old kid. I knew nothing, and he really taught me well. And I learned the technical aspects of architecture really well. So when I finally went to university, I went to NJIT School of Architecture. Very proud to say that I went on full academic scholarship. And when I went there, by the time I graduated, my friends were looking for their very first jobs, and I had already done large buildings in New York City that were my babies that I knew. So that was the technical.
Did you go to Union City at school?
Yeah, I went to St. Francis Academy.
Good.
And
great at school.
Yeah, the principal there now, Miss Savage, was actually my 5th grade and my 6th grade teacher. Wonderful person. I credit her a lot to who I am. And it was an amazing school, and it was in the heart of Union City and the diversity of Union City, and that really affects who I became as a person.
How many brothers and sisters you have?
I have one sister, Bianca, who's an attorney.
Bianca
Yes.
is your sister.
Yes, she
is. A great attorney. What type of license or licenses do you need as an architect to work in the state of New Jersey?
So you need a professional license in architecture. In order to have that, you need to graduate from an accredited school of architecture, which is usually a 5-year program. You have to run through an internship program, which is typically 3 years. And then you take exams. When I took them, there were 9 separate exams. And so then you test, and if everything goes well, you're a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey.
Very good. I know as an architect, you have a lot of responsibilities. What are the main responsibility as a professional?
I think that there's one key thing. We protect life. Okay? You talk to a doctor, he protects health. As an architect, I protect life. You spend your lives in buildings. You enter them. You want to make sure that those buildings are safe, and safe in many ways, from physical harm and also mental harm as well. What we do affects people for many generations to come. So it's a very important aspect of what we do.
Good to know. Manny, tell me something. Personally, I have been involved in the planning board, seeing architects, engineers, and for the population. What is the main difference between an architect and a civil engineer?
There are several differences.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I ask you that because when someone wants to invest money in a house, a building, a small building, they're thinking about engineers and architects. Can you tell me so that the audience can know?
I'd be very happy to. One important aspect is that an architect knows a good amount about everything. An engineer knows a tremendous amount to the detail about one specific subject. Okay? So as an architect, we're more of a quarterback that sees the larger picture and puts different systems together to work harmoniously together. Whereas an engineer on one project, I'll have 5 different engineers working with me to make a successful project.
Tell me something like in the past, years back, probably before you graduated, engineers and architects used to do everything by hands, like writings, designs, and now we have programs. Tell me a little about that.
Sure. Architects have different tools. Back then we had a pencil and paper, and then it moved into AutoCAD, which was basically just a substitution of the pencil and paper. And now we're getting into much more sophisticated software like Revit. So now instead of drawing lines on a piece of paper, I am creating buildings virtually inside of the model space of the computer. And then from that, after creating that building, we're producing drawings from there. And now we're in a very interesting moment in history because AI is completely changing everything. So I assume that in 5 years, my profession, as well as many other professions, are going to be drastically different. And, we have to be at the forefront of that and understand how that technology...
I see my daughter with architect application. They are designing in this. Is that facilitating your job? A customer come to you, I want a house that look like this and that because I have a picture. I did it in my computer. Is that an advantage or disadvantage?
Absolutely. Well, I see space and drawings 3-dimensionally right away. I understand the colors. I understand how things relate. That's my knack. You have a knack for music. You hear a few notes, you understand how they go, you understand how the melody is, you can make that work. I have no ear. I can't understand the music. But for me to translate my thoughts, my ideas to a person who doesn't have the same capabilities, these tools help me do that. When I could create a picture or a virtual walkthrough of a space and you put on a virtual goggle headset and you could walk through your building or your house and you understand what it is, I don't have to explain it.
I completely understand that point. And now at least they have something. And before it was like reading their brain. As an architect, I understand that you should or you have to know or have the knowledge of building codes, zoning regulations, building constructions, and etc. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. They're very different worlds that all have to work together. Zoning is a very important aspect of what I do. It's really what I specialize in. And I do that across the country, really, and my particular
What is
favorite
a zoning?
place.
So the audience can know.
So think about it like this, Kennedy. You purchased a beautiful house, right? And you're going to live in that house. And you're living there with your family, and it's a wonderful thing. You have a neighbor that purchases the house and 2 houses next to it, and he decides he wants to build a nightclub there. Now, what's the value of your house? Now, how are you living? Your quality of life. You're going to have music at night. Can you live there? No.
That is
zoning,
a very good explanation.
zoning protects you and protects uses so that your property and your rights are maintained. So every single city in the state of New Jersey has their own ordinance that says what can be done in what property, what are the sizes of the buildings, and how that works. And if this was a perfect world, everything would fit into these perfect blocks. The problem is things don't work out, especially when we have a very densely populated city like Union City. We can't meet that ordinance perfectly. So we have to ask for relief on that. And the way we ask for relief is through a variance process. And we go to a board of our peers, people who live in Union City and understand the city, and we present our case. And we show why it's important to grant us this variance and for what reasons. And that board votes on it. And if you have good reason, they grant the variance. If you don't, they deny the variance. And that's how the system kind of works.
As a customer, if I am going to need an architect, can you give the Dream City some tips what the customer should be looking in an architect?
I think the most important thing is to understand that you're entering into a relationship, okay? There's a kind of an intimate relationship between client and architect. We are creating your dreams. We're visualizing them for you. And it's a long process. And it's probably the most expensive thing you're ever going to do in your life. It's the most that you're going to devote to anything financially and time-wise per project. So that relationship is important, and you have to get along with your architect and understand that he sees your vision. That's the first and most important thing. And then it's the technical capabilities. Has this person performed before? Does he understand? And then third, does he understand the location? Sometimes there's neighborhoods that, look, that's not the work for me. I don't understand that neighborhood.
Can they check online your credentials?
Absolutely. So the state DCA tells you whether you're licensed, and then there's also a professional board, the American Institute of Architects, that lists everything. I'm actually the vice president of the American Institute of Architects in New Jersey. And so both of those are great resources to check on the architects and see.
Do you consider yourself a great architect? And you could be honest. You can ask me, Kennedy, do you consider yourself a great musician? I can tell no, yes, or maybe. I don't know.
I'll give you my honest answer. I don't know yet. Because the buildings that I design today are the buildings that your kids, your grandkids, and your great-grandkids are going to be walking through and living in
and that's
and
a
going
great
to school
answer.
in. And
you being honest.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Manny, I know you probably for many years just walking around City Hall, Planning Board, Hudson County, so many times in the city of Union City visiting building departments. How can you tell me if our city in our building department is a great department, is helping engineers, people who apply for permits for anything that we do there?
Okay, think about this. In order to be a contractor, you register, you get insurance, you're a contractor. You don't need a special license or any special knowledge. Now, those are the people who are going to the building department and getting permits. Add to that we are one of the most densely populated cities in the entire country. Add to that our infrastructure in many places are even 100 years old, okay? So our building department has an extremely difficult task to deal with all these variables. And they do as best as they can with that. And so I've been, my practice has been there for 16 years now. I feel like we have a great relationship with each other. And
this is one of the reasons that I ask you that question, because I see you visiting the City Hall, the building department. And I mean, you are the perfect one to tell me, because this city is about to be better every day, better and better.
Yes, that's
correct. The feedback is very important for the city.
That's correct. We have a very thorough building department, so when things get built, they're built correctly.
Thank you. As an architect, when you are in the middle of the project, a project manager, who is the project manager? And do you have to work tight with that person?
So there are several project managers that we work with. So in my office, I have 13 architects that work for me. And of those, each project that I have gets assigned a project manager from the architectural team. And they're the ones that work with the client directly to make sure that their needs are met on the architectural level. Then when projects go under construction, the construction team typically has a project manager as well. So this isn't the guy that's picking up the hammer, but he's the guy that's coordinating who is picking up the hammer, when the tools are coming and the materials are coming to site, and all of that. So it's someone that we work very closely with.
It is like a family.
It really, really is. It's a team effort. And the team, I always say there's kind of 4 critical members to any project. You have the owner, you have the architect, you have the builder, and then you have the city. And when those 4 things are working well together, that's when you have a successful project.
As a professional, is any project too small or too big for you?
No. So there's no such thing that a project is too small. Okay? A project that is small to me might be huge for you, and another project that might be huge for you might be small, vice versa. You never know. And what I understand, that I have a great deal of responsibility when a client comes to me. This is either their home or their business or their investment that they are trusting me to create. So I take a lot of care that I am managing their needs and their goals very carefully.
What do you think about the Dream City program?
Oh, I love it. So there are, number one, it's nice to see friends, because so many people that you interview are people, it's the neighborhood. I love it, And it's also nice to be introduced to other aspects and other people who I haven't met yet, and look forward to doing so.
Very good. Thank you. Manny, anything that maybe you can add to this interview or this conversation that maybe we didn't discuss? Anything important for the city of Union City, for the Dream City?
Union City is such a part of who I am. And I'm really grateful that I'm able to work in that city that I love. And I'm grateful to a wonderful administration that really takes, and I work all over the country. Okay, I've even worked all over the world. I have a project now, low-income housing in Guatemala.
I know.
But there is nothing like the care and the thoughtfulness that our administration and Mayor Stack puts on projects. It's incomparable with any other city, any other location. And I really appreciate that as an architect, because I value our infrastructure and I value what we're creating. Exactly. And the future of Union City.
And you can say that as a professional. If you go around the city, it's like a brand new city now.
It is. What other city could boast the beauties that we have and the infrastructure that
exactly.
we have?
Mr. Pereira, it was a pleasure to have you tonight.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.